Welcome, 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 everyone, to another adventure into Universal Citizens Media. Today, once again, I'm joined by my intrepid co-host, David Ellis. Welcome to the show, David. And Senior David.
Am I unmuted right now, Robert?
You are
I
unmuted.
have to speak.
Yes. Welcome
Yes.
to the show, David. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good today, Andrew.
Great. We're going to be starting off with busting some myths here. We want to make this a regular segment so people can understand there are so many myths out there when it comes to business, spirituality, consciousness, the movements at hand. Let's go and bust some myths, David.
Pick one. I'm game.
The biggest myth of all, that guilt, shame, and blame are the way to go.
Well, are there any Catholics in the audience that I should know about?
I'm sure there are, but I bring this up as the biggest myth to bust because it's one of the hardest ones that everyone creates, because they create their own myths around their own shame, their own blame, and their own guilt to epic proportions.
Okay. So there's a system of thought that believes that sin or original sin is how you feel about it. Did you know that?
Yes.
Right. So shame, blame, and guilt never fixed anything. If you want the luxury of feeling shame, blame, or guilt, do that after you fix your present problem. That seems pretty fair and logical, but a lot of people tend to step over that. Okay, so they just pretty much run into it and end up in manic depressive states. And in any case, these are toxic emotions, and everybody knows that. So if you've done something wrong, or you perceive that you've done something wrong and you want to create an apology, for instance, a lot of people don't want to do that, but if you want to create an apology, for instance, you go do that thing, okay? But holding on to shame, blame, and guilt is useless. Nobody cares about that.
Unfortunately, people create a myth around their shame, blame, and guilt. Like they'll never be able to get over not giving their kids what they wanted when they were growing up. And all these years later, they're still living under that myth of all the guilt that they've been. And they make mountains out of molehills and other subject matters. And that's the myth of myths that I want to get into here, because some people don't get, they create a giant myth around their own guilt and shame and blame. And that's what stops them from truly conquering their inner fears.
That stems around inadequacy. If you're inadequate as a parent, you're going to feel guilty. If you're inadequate as a spouse, you're going to feel guilty. Okay? No one is perfect. That's the first thing you have to start with. People will make mistakes. People will correct mistakes. People will make more mistakes. But if you're hanging on to one particular event, then you will be stuck at that point and not move further. Okay? So the hardest thing in a counselor's office is getting people to let go of things which, when you say it out loud, seems rather stupid. So someone is growing up and they said, well, I didn't provide my kid with everything that they wanted, and I feel badly about that. Did you have enough money to provide your kid with everything that they wanted? No. So why are you stressing? There's no point in stressing. That you did the best that you could. But I do believe that there's a secondary benefit. A lot of people are emotional masochists. They like beating themselves up. And I suppose you're probably going to ask, why would anyone like that? Because it gives them a certain kind of exalted status, like pretty much people in the 15th and 16th century who engage in self-flagellation. It gives them this sense of
superiority.
I suffer. Okay? And the reason why I said earlier, no one cares about that, is because really no one does. Okay? So you might be suffering, probably your therapist cares. But if you walk out into your workplace and so on, all you're doing is draining the air out of the environment. Okay? So step out of it, live your life, and be happy.
if it were that easy, everyone would be doing it, but it
This is
isn't.
true.
Okay.
This is true. But if you're an emotional masochist, then you're going to have problems stepping out of anything because you've developed a taste for this beating, this emotional beating that you give yourself.
It's like an acquired taste, like kombucha.
Kombucha. Yeah, that's true. This is true.
Okay.
What's another myth that we could put out there in terms of emotional? Let's deconstruct some myths.
Let's deconstruct the myth of the empath, which somebody labeled, I'm an empath. I know everything. I feel everything. Bullshit. Let's break the myth of what the empath is, was, and can be.
If you're an empath, it doesn't mean that you feel everything. Most empaths are sectionalized into different classes. So, for instance, if you're an empath, but you only feel the pain and suffering or the happiness or joys of human beings, then you're not technically speaking an empath. Okay? If you're an empath and you love your plants or you love animals, that's sectionally. But a total empath, can you imagine what that would be like? If you felt every living thing's pain and happiness?
Most of them are not that way. They're actually what I call faux empaths or I-paths. It's all about the I, me, I. And the I, me, I is an identification of empathy, in which empathy is being taken from an external source to feed the I am I's gratification for empathy.
This is true. This is actually quite true. And have you ever met someone who sees other people suffering and is really upset about it because it hurts them?
Yes.
It's like hilarious. It's so hilarious.
It's such like misguided emotions, feelings, thoughts, and concepts. Like, it really makes you wonder what's going on inside the person's internal mind structures and what's actually creating the driving forces there.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a few of them when I went to school. So you're watching the local news, right? And the empath walks in and sees, okay, a couple million people died in China from a flood. I was like, turn it off. You're really hurting me. And I'm like, I wonder how the people in the flood felt.
Right. So I'm gonna step it up a game here. So let's look at the environment post 9/11 and how empaths went off the hook. And that's really where 2001, the word reemerged into our colloquial now.
Yes, yes. 9/11 was a horrible event. Okay. A lot of people watched it and were absolutely traumatized. Okay. Mm-hmm. If you are an empath and you felt every one of those deaths, you should be in a mental institution right now, I'm thinking. Because that's a lot of suffering and fear and pain that you take on. Mm-hmm. Being an empath has got to be the worst of the spiritual gifts ever. Okay? Because you feel the happiness, but you also feel the pain. You are a useful person to your spouse and your children, but in actual society, you might be quite a hindrance to your own self. So there is no real way to switch that off. You could only manage it. If you are a real empath, you could only manage it.
See, I think most people are not actually real empaths. Real empathy is only gained through your raising of your consciousness and awareness, in which you are able to tap into the technology that allows a certain volume of you to be able to hear. Like our ears, certain sounds are out of our range, but empathy allows an extended range between all the thoughts, feelings, emotions, so that the complex mind, body, spirit frequency can experience the greater and lesser frequency ranges of what's in the moment of now as sensory input and data.
Basically, you're an antenna.
Yes, and a broadcast antenna, sometimes broadcasting and receiving simultaneously.
Yeah. That's another aspect, the transmission part of empaths. Because not all empaths transmit. Some of them are just receptacles, but some of them actually do transmit.
Right.
And how does one deal with that if you live with a transmitter?
Unfortunately, most of the time, the transmitters become siphoners so that they continue their misguided transmissions. So how do they become a transmitter? Suppressed will, forced into tacit consent. And then there are some people who are just born open frequencies, And every time they talk, their empathy instead of inner guidance is outer guidance, meaning they're putting their emotions on the cuff and putting their thoughts, feelings, and emotions on everyone else, kind of like a steam cloud coming out of the person. And whatever's a receptacle empathic to it, it is like putting on a steamy energy around somebody.
Mm-hmm. So what is the difference between sympathy and empathy?
The sympathy still has the I am as a part of a choice that knows it has to end, and the empathy doesn't know when it ends.
Agreed. Next great myth to bust. I'm really liking this section. Go ahead.
Why are empaths attract to narcissists?
Why do empaths attract narcissists?
And why do narcissists attract empaths?
Well, it's quite simple because you see, empaths, they have a particular signature on them that a narcissist can pick up. It's just, it shows. Empaths have a particular way, they have particular neurosis, which narcissists can pick up. So if you are an empath in a bar, right, just letting you know what the neurosis of an empath is, they see things and they trance out because they have to receive, right? So a narcissist in a bar, that sounds like a joke. A narcissist and an empath walk into a bar. Okay. A narcissist, the narcissist in a bar situation will pick up these neuroses, that's little body language and the frequency that they're putting out. Okay. And narcissists and empaths tend to fit together in a horrible combination. Okay. So the narcissist will find the empath as, oh, what a cool sponge so that I could soak up with all my negative toxicity. Okay, that's exactly what they're thinking because narcissists also have the predator-prey concept built in. Okay, so yeah, they will attract each other. And the empath on the empath side, they're looking for, I don't want to say this like this because this is actually not accurate for all empaths, but a lot of empaths are looking for a certain level of transmission. Okay? And narcissists are all about transmission. They're transmitting I, me, at loud frequencies. And empaths tend to think that, I hate to have to say this, they tend to think it's sexy. Because he's so expressive or she's so expressive with her feelings. And she's like, is the energy that is being transmitted to them. It's at a certain level and a certain strength. It's kind of like the Wi-Fi signal. Okay, most people have a slow transmission rate, and some people have a very high frequency transmission rate. And I'm telling you right now that narcissists transmit at very, very high levels. Okay, it's I, me, I am here. Watch my presence. And an empath is going to think, oh, I have just seen the sun. So that's how it works. It's dysfunctional, but it tends to work that way.
So it often creates a codependent scenario in which the narcissist needs the field to dump its toxicity, and the empath needs the narcissist to dump the toxicity.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they actually match made in hell, so to speak.
Match made in hell. All right, let's go into a deeper myth about empaths and narcissists and how they attract people's friendships, how they begin to truly reflect what's wrong with the narcissist and the empath.
Excellent. I had a perfect example of what I'm speaking about. This weekend, I was visited by a holy man.
Ooh.
Yeah, he had the robes and everything. Okay. And his wife. And what the holy man was transmitting, he was a pure narcissist. Here's the thing about spiritual people, because I want to bust that myth as well. Being spiritual does not make you a good person. It doesn't. Yeah. Right? A lot of people use spiritual.
You cannot give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
It just doesn't happen that way. So for instance, being a spiritual person can make you ego trip out of this world, right? So, oh, I am so spiritual and you are not. Have you ever met those vegans? I am vegan. Have you ever met those vegans who look at your shoes and say, ooh, you're wearing leather, I judge you?
Yes, many times.
Right? Yeah, they need a life. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is if you're a holy person and you derive pride out of it, and then you look for the empath, for instance. The individual doesn't necessarily have to be an empath, but you look to this woman who's an empath in the case that I'm talking about, and you say to her, "It is your destiny in this life to serve me."
Wow.
I could imagine what the women in the audience must be like. Yeah. And the individual accepts that. Here's the problem. Empaths develop this it's a dissociative issue where they feel the need to be needed.
That's right. The need to be needed.
They feel the need to be needed. I am empath because they mistake empathy for nurturing. It blends together. And so if I tell you, it is your destiny in this life to serve me, you're going to feel, oh, I'm needed. No, you're not needed. You are a slave. And if you are a slave, then you probably might want to get out of it. But I want to say this about this because we're bridging myths here. The spiritual people aren't necessarily good people. Okay? Some people have developed the gift of spirituality or just looking the part, right? I'm sure if I came onto this broadcast with my robes, my Rudrak Mala, right? I put some stuff on my forehead, right? Some people will be impressed by that. No. How about t-shirts and some slacks? Okay? How about just being a normal person and being spiritual at the same time? Because before you become spiritual, become a decent person first. That's basically the bottom line here. Mm-hmm. Okay? And yeah, narcissists tend not to be the most decent people. How do you tell a narcissist? Okay, listen to 6 sentences of his. If 3 of those sentences, 3 to 6 of these sentences have I, me, or my in it, you're probably dealing with a narcissist.
But I me my. But I me my.
All right, and then you say, oh, and then you try to interrupt him, and you say anything like him or her actually, and you say anything like, what do you watch on Netflix? It says, my favorite show. I like this. I am all about that. I have certain taste. I do this. I do that. Now you might mistake that for being opinionated, but that pronoun I, that pronoun my, that possessive pronoun my, these things in speech, when they crop up over long periods of time, is quite it's a potent, yeah, they pretty much reveal themselves. So for the ladies or men out there, if you're going out on a date, because we have a dating show as well, if you're going out on a date and your date says, I want to do this, I would like this, and it crops up over a long period of time, then you're probably in trouble. You should probably end the date. You should probably not call back. Okay? However, if your date or your boyfriend or whatever starts with, you want to do this? Let's do that. Let us. We. Okay? Then you'll probably marginally safe.
There are a variety of tests that people could go to and see who the test to see if your spouse or you're a narcissist. There's thousands of them that are out there. Just learn to discern the type of tests and style. Some are really good, some are bad. All right, Dave, let's break a few more myths here. Mm-hmm. Let's break the myth about spirituality being people not being good. We've talked about this before, but I want to give it in this context, that many people come into spirituality and then discover all sorts of seedy things that lay everywhere, be it because one lineage is this way, one teaches this way, one's only marketing, or one doesn't give a crap, and it's just selling somebody else's ideas and people are buying it. let's talk about discerning that part of the journey of good and bad.
If you are, this is a topic that's actually very dear to my heart. The Swami that I met this weekend, he claimed to be part of a lineage, the lineage that I'm part of. I don't care about your lineage. I don't care about where you studied. I care whether you are a rude person, whether you're a horrible person. I care about these things. And I think a lot of people do. Okay. But however, I want to give the audience a few tips at finding spiritual leaders. Spiritual leaders are usually humble. If your spiritual leader is not humble and is rude and disgusting, then there's a high possibility you might be in trouble. Get away from that spiritual leader. I fail to understand how people fall prey to this thing. And I do believe it's because a lot of them have complexes of their own. And I say complexes in the sense that they look for someone to follow. Okay, you want to know what the ideal world is? And I want to say to everybody that where everyone is a guru, everyone is a priest, everyone is a pundit, and everyone is a Maulana, everyone. That is the ideal world. If you are not working towards that, then you're not moving anywhere. Okay? Now, the guru lineage, the concept of having a teacher or having lineage is a good concept in essence, because you have someone to show you where you're going wrong, right? You have someone as a guide. It's supposed to be a guide. Guru does not translate to master teacher. It does not translate that way. You need to find the Sanskrit origins of what it is. A guide. He is your guide. She is your guide. Okay. There are some people who raise people above themselves. Okay. That's naturally. And some of them have it from birth, even when they were in school. They idolize people. Okay.
Yep.
Idolization will always lead you to sadness because these people will disappoint. Let's look at the yoga people who've been discredited over the last 2 or 3 years in the United States.
And in India too, there's been about 10 in India alone in the last year and 6 months.
One particular guru went to a wedding, got all excited, took a gun, shot it up in the air, and shot a couple of people. And she was a very well-respected guru. You could go Google that on the net. Okay, we're not going to mention any names there, but you can just Google guru shoots people in India. Okay, these are the things that you need to take into consideration. If you feel that you need a guru or you need a guide and so on, be discerning. Okay, the same rules apply to them as with anybody else. There are no different rules that apply. The same rules apply. So the same way you would assess someone, even if it's a date, right? You assess your guru the same way. Is your guru a narcissist? Is it I, me, my? Okay. Is your guru a kind person? Right? Does your guru expect total subjugation from you? These are the kinds of things you need to understand. And if your guru requires you to totally subjugate yourself and remove the part of you that knows right from wrong, for instance, then you are in trouble. Go get yourself another guru. There are a dime a dozen. Trust me.
Or maybe you don't need a guru at that moment and you need to look inside yourself and, get over guru-itis. A lot of people have guru-itis too. It's the next thing to talk about. It's the next coffee table conversation that they can tell. I have my guru, my this, that, even though they only see them once a year.
There is that trend. And I think a lot of that trend is coming from, let me explain to you. There were a lot of East Indians from 1973 to 1985 who came across there who could not cut it in India. But they had the look, so they came across to the United States. They were not respected in India, but they came here. They donned the robes. They grew the hair. They looked the part. and Americans followed them and made them superstars.
Right.
Only for years later, for some of these gurus to be caught in sexual assault scandals and stuff like that.
Financial frauds, and then abusing their students.
Correct. This is a topic that really is upsetting, because they're using spirituality, but we shouldn't actually make that judgment, because the Christians have been doing it for years. Prosperity preachers.
That's right.
Every time I watch a prosperity preacher, I always think to myself, how do these people fall for this? How is it possible? Give me money as a seed, and with your faith, I'll make your money grow. How is this possible? Actually, Andrew, probably you want to put your 2 cents there, because I really want to bounce this across someone.
They're spiritual bankers, don't you know? They got it in with God, and they got the gambling chips with God. Unfortunately, that's their truth. And because there are so many giving cultures inside the various form of Christianity that accept that version of the Bible, that version of preaching, because it was a way that got the teachings out in the eras past. And as it's evolved from modern black and white television to now what it is today, where many churches have their own, broadcast center in them, and it's big money for them. And until such a time that the separation of church estates defines what's a money-making church and what isn't, and goes through the defined concepts, you're going to continuously having people that are offering for seed donations to get God to give you money back, even though you should have your own inner relationship with God. But that's, fundamentally left out of their teachings.
You remember this concept of tithing? They've really upgraded it, haven't they?
Oh, yeah.
Give me money and you will get money back. So I wish somebody would do a study, make an aggregate of the number of people who have given money and how many of them have gotten rich as a result of it.
None of them.
And you want to know who these people prey on? Poor people.
Poor people.
Because poor people want to get rich. And they figure...
In the elderly and nursing homes.
It's hilarious. It's the sickest kind of thing.
Predatorial.
It's very predatorial.
Yeah. So now let's go into another big myth that we want to bust, David, and that's really about how there can be a psychological issue that turns into a major spiritual issue, such as paranoia. And let's break some of the myths around paranoia and spiritual paranoia and normal paranoia.
Okay. Paranoia. For all of you who understand what paranoia is, it's the unreasonable fear of events and circumstances. Okay. So I think they're all out to get me. So you push them all away. Good. You would think that is called cyclical paranoia. You push them all away so they don't speak to you anymore. Equals, they were all out to get me. Equals, I must go and seclude myself. And you know what? The only thing I can find to do is to go into spirituality. Oh, shit. There are people out here in spirituality that are out to get me as well. Okay. And then there are demons. And there are all manners of manifestations that are out to get me. Maybe it is that your paranoia, your initial paranoia, painted a target on your back. Maybe it is they might be out to get you or they might not. Who cares? All right? But the fact of the matter is you're not helping yourself by being paranoid. Okay? Now, paranoia at the psychological level is a situation that does need treatment. You need to see a counselor. Okay? If the counselor, of course, is not out to get you, of course. But you might want to see a counselor. You might want to see a counselor. But in the general practice of psychology, you will find that people become paranoid as a result of one singular initial sensitizing event. Okay? They may have had a difficult encounter, difficult event, and they develop a paranoia as a result of it. Okay. Some paranoia is justified. I'm assuming if you're walking through the Bronx with diamonds all over you at a certain time of night, right? You could be paranoid. They're all out to get you. No, just some of them are out to get to you. Okay.
It's all about if it's creating a debilitated, degrading fear within inside you.
Nice picture, Robert.
Yes,
Nice picture.
extreme.
All right. They're all out to get me.
So that's all about that debilitating fear that it can create. They're out to get me. You know, you had made the association before. What I was trying to do is they start with normal paranoia and then they get in the spiritual world and then they realize all those other things are out there, but it's still their own fear that is blocking them. They're creating their own false evidence appearing real over and over and over again, which justifies them and puts them into judgment states and no longer allows conclusions to leave any form of open-ended.
It also stops them from moving forward or backwards. The stagnancy. Fear is the ultimate stagnator. You will not move. You will not do anything. You will just be frightened. And that's all you are. Your fear becomes bigger than yourself.
So a lot of people that fall into the 5G conversation end up full of fear, totally paralyzed because they're afraid of the 5G, and so on and so forth. So what do you have for people that are really down a subject matter that has a lot of debilitating paranoia around it?
The only way out of fear is to go towards your fear and not away from it. Okay? The way out of fear is through the door that is marked fear. Okay? Walk through the door that is marked fear. That is the quickest way out of it. You could look around the room. You could try to go through the ceiling, go through the floor, dig a tunnel, whatever else. But fear will be everywhere with you. It is with you. And that door that I'm talking about is in your mind. I am afraid of people. Go speak to people. Okay? Free yourself, because there's a popular line in one of these songs, a reggae song actually. They can only kill you once. They can only kill you once. Now that once may be the fear that you're afraid of, but if that's the fear that you're afraid of, it's only a one-time thing, man.
Unfortunately, a lot of paranoia people put themselves into situational creations where they envision this version of death and that version of death, which becomes a very codependent on their own paranoia, feeding it over and over again.
Fear of death is very interesting. I think you can be afraid of how you're going to die. Well, nowadays, it's not a big deal. Morphine and Valium have been invented. But the fear of non-existence. You know what the fear of non-existence is? Lack of belief, a strong belief system, and a lack of spirituality. If you're afraid to die, just die. Forget about the pain or all that, the illness or whatever. Be afraid of the illness. The illness is real. Death is temporary. Okay?
It can be perceived that way, but there are those that are still caught in the paranoia, the flagellation of the many versions of death that they experience over and over again, or whatever form of paranoia that they're creating that is adding to the complex story.
You want to know, I've had this in my practice before. Huh?
Yeah, me too. I've had it on air too.
I had an individual who was afraid of death, deathly afraid of death, if you want to put it that way. So I brought him into my practice and I made him die several times a week. Okay? Through hypnosis, I took him through the simulation of death many, many times. The quickest way out, you're probably thinking, that's really tripped out, David, right? No, it actually worked. Because after a while, he was like, I've come for my death session. He was like all happy about it. He would arrive like 15 minutes early and stuff like that. You change your attitude. You change your attitude. Change your attitude to death, right? There's actually mid-century. Let's see, you only live once. False. You live every day. You only die once. Correct. Right. So, well, actually, in my practice, I can make you die several times over, right? Because your body does not know the difference in hypnosis between reality and not reality. But that's another story. So I made him die several times and he began to enjoy it, which made me think that this could possibly go the wrong way. All right. So I had to wean him off of the death trance. Yeah, I had to wean him off because, yeah, liking death is probably not a good idea either. Okay. Removing the fear of death is a dangerous thing as well. It is. So you have to find somewhere in the middle path there. Okay. You're here to do stuff. Don't be afraid of death. It's a temporary situation. It is a temporary situation. Energy can neither be created or destroyed. You are energy. But it can be recycled, though.
Yes.
That's the horrible part.
Exactly. So for those that want to put their energy into asking David and I a question here on the Universal Citizens Media web show, go to the participants button inside the Zoom chat room and click raise hand. For those that are watching outside of that work on Facebook, on Periscope, on Twitch, on YouTube, so on and so forth, or on the website, you must go to the Zoom channel and you must be signed up for the email list to get the Zoom access. We will allow anyone that is only those that are in the Zoom chat room do we choose. So go ahead and raise your hand if you want to ask a question. This is not for personal private readings. So I want everyone that is putting their hands up right now. This is not for a personal private session. This is for a topic, a conversation, and about dealing with stuff that are, maybe you have an empath in your society. It's not about your galactic history. We're trying to drive forward callers as educators too. So, all right, Robert, spin the wheel of callers.
Okay, first caller is going to be Callie Ray.
Callie Ray, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Humboldt County, California.
Welcome to the show.
Excellent.
So what question did you have for me and David today?
Well, of course, I have a list of questions because I knew I would be taken slightly unprepared, and of course I don't have the list.
Can you come a little closer to your phone?
Yes, is that better?
I'm not sure. Say a little bit more.
Is this a little bit better?
It just sounds you're like distant from the microphone.
I don't know how to. I'm new to this platform. Is this better?
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay, I'll keep it right here. So I guess the question that comes to mind first is I was listening to one of your recent shows and you said something about connecting to planetary consciousness, but like older and younger versions of planetary consciousness. And like I don't remember obviously what you said verbatim, but you talked about like interplanetary messengers carrying information through sigils, I believe, or something along those lines. Yep. And then, of course, it went to a different thing. And I was wondering if you could elaborate more on that particular subject.
So sigils are a way to store data and information. And when one is operating in the world of nature, that means we are in the bubble of Mother Earth, which is a celestial being holding space or dreaming space in a sacred reason for us to have sacred space to go through a set of experiences. There are many scales to the awareness. And when we as individuated beings choose to enter the same perspective as celestial beings, we can operate in a higher density language. I call it the 1 million letter alphabet. And it has sigils, moments, things, and concepts within the Akashic record of the earth, which creates potent transmissions of information. So that's what that is. Potent transmissions of information. And there are those who learn how to create sigils that can transfer potent information through the sigil from generation to generation. So things are interpreted and reinterpreted a right way. Because oftentimes every generation loses a key point, which makes the interpretation of the concept to go very awry.
Right. So does does that mean, I guess it kind of leads into one of the other questions that's probably on my list somewhere, which is
not in front of you.
No, but it's how does so if I feel very connected, and I don't want this to like go into a personal reading, but so I'm trying to phrase the question where it would help everyone. How would one know if they have the ability or contracts? Like, I feel like that's something I'm supposed to do in combination with the information.
So it is everyone's birthright and legacy to have some form of relationship to the celestial spirit that you're working with. And oftentimes having celestial relations or astrological based relations with others. Some identify with the moon, some identify with stars naturally from thousands of lifetimes in the past that live the list that influence the present now to open up their engine of belief. So it is your birthright and legacy to have communication with them. If you're feeling urges at these moments of now, it is to expand your individuated awareness of what type of relationship you and solely you can create in your God source energy, commuting with the God source celestial being who's doing what? Holding space for you to be a God source being, to do what? To be a part of this greater awakening journey of sharing education, perspective, and point of view in the many layers of the reality that we all function in.
Cool.
Next.
Ooh, the list is getting longer. Next question.
I guess one of the main issues that comes up in my daily life that I imagine is an issue for other people involves discernment. And I guess I wish I had a book because I have great, like, actually formed questions, but I'm guessing there's a reason I'm supposed to do it on the fly.
Yes, you're supposed to reach into your inner genius and say, whatever's blocking me from not being able to see stuff that I wrote down, that I can do it now. And it's not about who's listening or what. It's about what are you going to be in your body enough to override the program of denial of information.
So I've been working on transcribing the heart meditation onto I've been doing it for a while. I wrote my kind of, I've redone it a couple of times in my own words, and I've been listening to it for about a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting to the point where I'm wanting to rework it again, but with music. And when I started doing that, I immediately wanted to start doing, and I actually have the ability to, like, I've been working with that technology on my computer, and I have some fun equipment that I've been playing with, and my husband's into it, so he's been doing it. And we've got the tuning forks that make the sounds, and I have been looking up information regarding how to synthesize all these different concepts into like one recording.
Absolutely. The more you synthesize all the concepts, what you'll discover is you're going to create an ever-evolving meditation that gets more potent and has different layers to it. A month from now, that beginning will change because you have an ending that's different. When one can create an ever-evolving self-healing journey that uses meditations and opening concepts that allows you as the unlimited point of view being to put an unlimited amount of inspiration into it, where you could have one version, it's the 90-minute version, it's got every word you've ever said, and you have the short version, which is you're on your way to work, or the other version is you're playing it as you're making dinner.
Yeah, right? That's totally what I was setting up. Yeah. Yeah. And so that actually totally made me remember the most important question that I've been thinking about if I got to talk to you again, which is I've been working on, and it goes back to the sigils too, which I was working into it. So I'm synthesizing all these concepts together that I've been working with for, however long. And when I talked to you previously, you spoke to me about it being my DNA skin suits sort of path to make fermented brews for ceremonial purposes, and I've been sitting with that for a couple of years, and I already made brews for my garden, so and ferments for my, like, I cook a lot and I make sourdough and I make ferments. So it totally hit to home. And I was working on some other stuff at the time. And I mean, I have a lot of projects I'm working on. I have I run a small cannabis farm with my husband, and we're trying to make some, healing products. My mom does topicals and essential oils, and you inspired me to really go forward with essential oils in a bath because of your information about cannabis being healing in the bath, the fresh flowers in the bath. And so I've been really working with the cannabis flower essences, and I want to combine all of it, the flower essences, the ferments, and people's chart work, like the natal chart, the image of the natal chart as a sigil, and offer some sort of loose framework in the end.
So now you're talking about marketing all of your knowledge.
I do. I really want to, but
there's a fine line between, I'm just going to, not insulting you, puff of smoke, woof, woof, puff of smoke idea, and putting something as a menu of service. So you're mad sciencing all of your stuff together. Some things aren't meant to be mad science. They are just obvious matches, like baths with scented oils and cannabis, and it's its own frequency. I want to bring David in here to help separate what are some of the great potential ideas and what it takes to actualize some of these concepts.
Yay.
I'm still trying to figure out how many projects Callie Ray is in.
Too many.
Too many, but they're all so wonderful.
Okay, so you have lots of projects going on. What is the common denominator between the projects? Common denominator?
Really, probably nothing but being in service and providing.
Oh, so you want to be in service. So it's you and your husband then?
The business end would be me. My husband does music.
Your husband does music, and the business end would be you. May I ask a question? Which one of these projects would make money for you to continue the rest of your other projects?
Right now, it is and has been cannabis, and it would be something. I really want to go into essential oils of various kinds. It's also what my mom does for a living, so I already have.
Do you make your own essential oils?
Yeah.
What is the process that you use?
The still that I have yet to get is the prototype just got built, but basically steam distillation.
You use steam distillation?
Yeah.
Have you tried it on marijuana?
Yeah. My mom's been steam distilling cannabis for over a decade now.
What is the result?
Really amazing, different products depending on which variety of cannabis you choose.
I think we have a winner here. Concentrate on that.
Okay, yeah.
I think we have a winner here. Because everybody who's listening to this broadcast right now is thinking, that sounds interesting, I'm sure. Or something along those lines. Steam distillation. So you're doing a separation, basically, of the essence of marijuana?
Yeah, so you have a hydrosol and essential oil at the end.
Okay. And what are you making with the distillate?
With the essential oil, my mom makes various creams and topicals, and I want to do, inspired by what Andrew said, I really want to focus on some kind of like bath soak that is designed for, more than just a pretty smelling bath soak, but actually, healing. And there's a lot of pain relieving, and there's another plant called Monarda that I've been researching that is pain relieving, otherwise known as bee balm. And so I do a bunch of bee balm and a bunch of comfrey, and we already grow other things here. I mean, I garden. I don't just grow
Callie Ray.
Everything.
Callie Ray?
Yeah, sorry.
Take a little trip with me. We walk into the store. We see Callie Ray's cosmetic product line with the essential ingredient being distillate from cannabis. I even like the name Callie Ray as the essential product line.
It's gonna be Crystal Ray. I think it's gonna be my mother, and she's doing it right now. And I definitely want to do it with her, but I also don't want to like I don't know.
You want to do what? Let's hear it.
Right, it's her thing, and she's worked really hard for it. And I've been
Your mother has the business sense that you have.
no.
She can market. She can do accounts. She knows how to use the computer. She knows all of these.
She's gotten along great. No, she's gotten along great. She's doing really well. She's launching like 14 different products in one of the.
So she needs you, right?
At some point she will, and I feel that she needs me to grow the cannabis and to make a legal farm happen because we're really growers. And
that's a lot of information.
And make the essential oil.
Good. That's a lot of information. Let me.
It's illegal, though, I promise.
So, and that's a lot of information. Let me break that down for you. Okay. You have the essences of a business. You have an idea. You have competent staff. And you have a support structure. Okay. So, Calorie, you need to first of all take a deep breath in, inhale, and release. Good. First things first. Go talk to mom. Hi, mom. I am now your new business manager. I have elected myself as this job. Go to the husband. Hi, husband. We're going to probably need staff that's cheap. You are now indentured labor. Okay? You come together and you make a family business, whether it be Crystal Ray or Cali Ray, or probably you have the top end being Crystal Ray and the middle and the cosmetic products being Cali Ray. Right? My point is that you have the elements of a business. You have the idea. You need to move to the next part of it. You have the idea, so make a business plan. Okay? Make a business plan. You say you want to be in service to people, then you have to be visible to people. So, you need to market. Because you can't be of service to anybody if they don't know you exist. You have the elements of a business plan. My suggestion is you go with what you are most enjoy. That idea that you have, you just spoke about it so vividly, right? And then you can tie in your other projects to that thing. But you need a seed project to start with. And did I just use the word seed product? That was not a pun. I swear to God, that was accidental, right? You have a seed product to start with. Start with that, okay? Otherwise, you're going to be talking, and you're not going to actually make that product line that we all want to buy. And when you make a prototype, any prototype, you're going to send it to us. We're going to put it on the show, and we're going to say, this is what Calorie has made.
All right.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, Calorie, seriously, make one project at a time, make the business plan, and expand. You need direction. So you need to plan, first of all, right? Your resources clearly are not bad because you have family members that are into this. So you have expertise, okay? You clearly have a business head, but you may not have a project management head. Because from what I can gather, you have several projects going on. So somebody else might have to do the project management.
Terrible at that. I'm not. That's why I know I'm not focusing. But I also at the same time that one of the things with this particular business is that there's a lot of waiting time in between actions, and I lose faith in myself, and I
lose faith?
Second guess everything, and I don't believe in myself after a certain point. I don't know.
Everybody in the audience who's interested in Caliray's product, everybody, Robert, can you do a hands down? Everybody in this audience who's interested in Caliray's product, please raise your hand. Everybody who is interested in Caliray's product, please raise your hand in the audience. Who's interested in seeing what she's doing? Caliray, you have... Look at all those things that are popping up. Are you reading this, Caliray?
Yeah.
Good. You get the point?
Yeah.
What faith are you losing in yourself again?
I honestly, it seems to be not mine. I don't know. I really don't know anymore sometimes. And it's that feeling right there where I really don't know. Because I just remember I've been in these places where I had such knowingness and I was so confident. And I really felt like I had a handle on things. And then I guess things happened, and then all that made me second guess maybe I didn't so much. And I probably at some point made the wrong assumptions about my situation on a subconscious level. And I've been trying to figure out how to fix that, because it's not, I feel as though I'm a person that's very susceptible to what is going on in my energy field or in my unknowingness, like in my body. And like I'm allergic to gluten, and I can touch bread and start crying physically, but have no sadness and no connection to my body freaking out. Like, it's really weird. And I know that there's something up, and like that I need to do more self-healing and stuff like that so I can continue doing this work. But that's the other reason I think I really appreciate your advice, because I will continue to. I totally think you're right.
She's got some gluten ghosts, David.
Yeah, I know all about food allergies. Okay? You should see what happens when you try to feed me meat. Not pretty. Okay? However, you might need to walk through that barrier. Probably that is your lesson that you have to learn. Some people have to learn to operate under pressure. Do you know that, right? You know this.
Yeah, I felt like it's a thing I'm supposed to deal with.
So
like, I don't
operate.
know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a thing I'm making myself deal with. I don't know. But I have felt like it does make me a stronger person, and I can be susceptible to like sugars and stuff. And it helps just keep me healthy to not have any kind of gluten, even if like it's all in my head or whatever. But,
okay, let me give you some nutrition advice, shall we?
Sure.
Okay. A lot of people became intolerant to certain things because they overdosed on them.
Yeah.
Would I be spot on there?
I believe that's the case. I tried to get back to where maybe I can have it, but I mean, maybe I'll try again.
Maybe you just can't have it. How about that, Calorie?
Yeah, maybe I just can't have it.
I think we may have an underlying theme here. You have to discipline yourself to keep going on the project that you're doing. You have to discipline yourself to stay focused. You have to discipline yourself not to eat foods that you've already overdosed on. Because I can tell from the way you're speaking that your energy system, you were using sugar to float it. Am I correct?
I would say caffeine.
Well, caffeine, sugar, they do different things in your system, but you're using it to float your energy system. You want to know how I know this, Kali Ray?
Yeah, sure.
Because you're speaking in fast forward.
Oh, I'm very I went into like, whoa, oh no, as soon as they said Kali Ray, I was like, oh no, me, I'm totally unprepared. I had just called in after getting my kids from school.
How many cups of coffee you had this morning?
2.
2? Now, is the cup like a bowl?
It's a 12 ounce, 12 or 16, depending on the mug.
How did you have that coffee? Was it double espresso?
So it's either 4 cups or 2 cups. A cup is 8 ounces. So if you're having a 2-cup one, that's 2. So if you're having a 20-ounce one, that's what?
Just 4.
That's 4, and you're having 2 of those.
But 24 ounces total, possibly, because 12 and 12 is 24.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my cups are usually 12 ounces, not 8. Indeed.
So, Kali Ray, stop drinking coffee.
Most mugs are 2.5 cups. So it's sad to say, Callie, most mugs, no matter what you think, are 2.5 cups.
I believe you.
So, Kali Ray, about the business aspect, you can't use caffeine to float your energy system. You just can't, because that's not real energy. Okay? You might have to change the way you eat. And you might have to change to something that you may not like barley coffee, for instance.
What about green tea? Is that okay?
Green tea can also be used as a stimulant, and I think you already know that.
For sure.
Yep. I'm hearing guitar noises.
I love coffee.
Hilarious. Okay, so Callie, right?
Knows what I'm talking about.
You might have to reduce your intake of coffee and switch the energy system to something more sustaining, like a complex carb, like an apple. Do you know an apple will give you the same kind of charge, but not as intense as your coffee?
I know, it's just not as
But
delicious.
it doesn't have the instant gratification behind it.
I know, I'm really working on that one.
I think we have a caffeine junkie here.
Oh, I know it. I know it. I'm aware.
So before you reduced your coffee intake to what it is now, what was it before?
Oh boy.
It's gone. It's been various times throughout my life. I started drinking coffee when I was like 12, and at like coffee shops, and you know, I drank a lot as a teenager, and
12.
I quit drinking coffee for both of my pregnancies by some grace. I did drink it like a little bit with my second child, but not at all with my first. And so I had to get, reacquainted with it after.
You had to find the bottom of the pot and reacquaint yourself with the stains at the bottom that were telling you your coffee future.
I'll be like good about it at first, and I'll just like be like 1 cup a day, and then it will slowly, be like, okay, there's like an afternoon cup,
and then there's the smile behind the afternoon cup as you're totally gratified and satisfied.
Oh yeah, I love coffee. I've loved coffee.
That's called a dopamine release, and you've got to figure out how to hijack your dopamine releases back.
Oh.
Without caffeine, of course.
Yep.
So any recommendations?
Yeah. Barley coffee, switch to that.
Changa tea.
Dopamine gum. That's not good enough.
Do you exercise, Gallery?
I do.
How much do you exercise? What do you do?
I usually try and wake up in the morning, and I was actually trying to completely replace exercising with coffee, but because I usually like wake up and do about 30 minutes, but my husband keeps making it, and it's so delicious.
Andrew, you have any advice for Callie Ray's husband?
Stop making her coffee.
All right, I'll tell him.
Chaga tea. There are other sports-based teas that have a much slower starting journey. It's probably good to say your intestinal tract and your morning wakefulness are associated to how much coffee you have before you can go to your bathroom and start your day. It's interwoven. It's coffee can be insidious in the way it interweaves itself with your personality too. Like those dopamine release. There's other times you can't do your work without that damn cup of coffee, right? Okay. So learn to brew it weak.
But then it doesn't taste as good.
I know, I get it. It's got that texture. As David said, you can switch coffees too. Find an extremely low acid coffee. It's like almost having like near beer.
So is decaf okay? Just to enjoy like the flavor or whatever?
Well, most neat decaf has other chemicals and crap and stuff in it. I won't say yes or no. I will allow you to make that personal judgment on decaf, but I personally can't do decaf. Yeah. It creates headache scenarios in me because the body is like, what the fuck? Right. The shit.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. I was getting headaches, and I wasn't sure why, but I was also trying to switch out of decaf every once in a while.
Yeah, that's withdrawal. That's actually withdrawal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So dealing with coffee withdrawals, that's not an easy thing there because it's so insidiously interwoven into so much of your ritual of expanding of energy.
And it's pretty, like, I'm pretty familiar. Like, I've actually been through it quite a few times because I saw how it was affecting my adrenal glands and even like how I interact with my children. And so I've like tried to quit drinking coffee and, gone through periods where I did, kind of like a smoker. So I understand all about the withdrawals, and I've been through it a bunch of times, and it's something about that habit. Like I can't reset. I need to work on really getting a handle on some neuro-linguistic programming techniques or something.
Well,
so
you started drinking coffee at a young age, so it's ingrained into you.
Ooh.
Unfortunately.
and into my father. You know, I'm Italian, and it's just like this.
I grew up in a Greek family. Got my first cup of coffee when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. I very much get it.
I've seen you with the coffee.
It was watered down and milked down, but I had my coffee by the time I was 6. Okay, doesn't matter. It's ingrained and wired, and you're going to have to use spiritual strategy to begin to break it down from many angles, not just the standard prayer, the standard journey. You got to find some very committed, disciplined parts of yourself that want to tackle coffee in the moment. Example, let's say you got a project on the table and you know you can't get it done without the coffee. Well, you need to confront yourself who's given herself her power away to that coffee. Because if you were starving, you could get it done. If there were no coffee, you could get it done. But it's so easy to give away your power to that cup.
Why is giving away power easier than claiming it?
David, what would you say on that one?
Say again.
Why is it easier to give away power than claim it?
Because giving away power is also giving away responsibility, especially responsibility for the self. Claiming your power means that you are taking power that is out there, and that requires a learning curve. It also requires a sense of work. It requires work. Giving it away, I give you my power, make the decisions for me. I claim my power. I want to make my own decisions, which means I have to learn stuff and I have to do stuff. So human beings, unfortunately, tend to bend more towards the path of less resistance. Make sense?
Yeah, it's scary. It's scary, and it's easier to not. I get it.
All right, Kylie, we got to let you go. We've got to go on to our break right now, but thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk with you guys. I really appreciate you guys.
To you. And next time when you call in, you'll have your whole list, won't you?
Wonderful. Yes.
All right.
All right, Robert, take us on our commercial break, and we'll be back in about 9 minutes.
Okay.
Baby steps for adults, drug abuse. What is drug addiction? Am I an addict? Who does drug addiction really harm? They can hurt your sense of judgment, decision-making, memory, and ability to learn. They can hurt your loved ones and so many others around you. Drug addiction is a disease which can be cured. Our Baby Steps program can provide the information you and your family need to overcome this illness. Online access to professionals working in the field of addiction, webinars and group counseling for those battling this addiction, full instruction to help you first understand this disease and how to cope with it. Join us today. We're here to help. Baby steps for adults, codependency. I can't live with or without you. I just want to look good for you. I would do anything for you. All popular words to famous songs. But guess what? They all indicate someone in a codependent relationship. Codependency is an addiction to another human being. You will see a strong relationship between codependency and negative physical side effects, which can manifest in violence towards your spouse or partner. If you're in a codependent relationship, you may need help. Join us today and free yourself from this addiction. Baby steps for adults, sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is a real problem in our societies. Every year, thousands of children are abused. These children constitute the most vulnerable members of our society. However, sexual abuse is also a real problem among our adult population. It can be violent and unwanted within family groups, as well as extreme harassment at the workplace. We can help. With online access to trained professionals working with victims of abuse and sexual assault, webinars and group counseling for those suffering from the trauma and struggling to make sense of their lives, full instruction to help you overcome the trauma and how to detect and assist other victims. Protect yourself and your loved ones. Join us today. Baby steps for adults, communication. Hey there! Are you reading this? Do you understand me? Oh, great! Then we're communicating. So what is good communication? Expressing exactly how you feel. Being personal and one-on-one. A simple touch or gesture of love. And what is poor communication? Screaming and shouting. Belittling others. Violence or verbal abuse. Would you like to learn to be an effective communicator? Join us today. Oh, bye now. Baby steps for adults, alcohol. Are you or someone you love a victim of alcohol abuse? What are the signs which determine the beginnings of an alcohol addiction? Temporary blackouts, finding an excuse to drink whenever you're relaxed or just to celebrate, drinking alone or in secrecy. Our Baby Steps for Adults class has the answers you seek and the methods of dealing with this difficult disease. We offer online access to professionals working in the field of addiction, webinars and group counseling for those battling this addiction, full instruction to help you first understand this disease and how to cope with it. Join us today. We are here to help.
welcome back, everyone, to our continuing Universal Citizens Media Show. Welcome back, David. How you doing today? Waiting for David to unmute.
Yes, my host has decided to unmute me. Thanks, Robert. I'm doing pretty well today, Andrew.
We've had some fun callers today. We've got one of those unique opportunities to give another teaching scenario. So last week you were able to do a guided meditation that helped people go into relaxation. We got a lot of feedback from it. Why don't we do another one and we can round out the show and really give somebody a way to take what they may have heard from today's show, be it from paranoia to so on and so forth, and ways for them to just ground into what they've heard and gone for the show, and then we can give them a special treat.
Sure. What do you have in mind?
So let's work it around releasing tension around paranoia or those things that don't get us work done.
Ooh.
Time thieves.
Should I take the audience on a little death journey? No. Let's try something. Let's try something a little bit. Everybody's saying yes. Okay, so let's see. How about everyone get a seat if you're sitting down, or lie down. And we're going to close our eyes just for a moment. And we're going to take them through a different kind of induction. How's that, Andrew?
That sounds good.
Okay. I need you to stop your video. Okay. So everybody is listening to my voice who wants to participate in this exercise. I need you to get comfortable. I need you to sit down. I need you to lie down. But don't get too comfortable that you fall asleep. I'm going to give you a moment to do so. If you're lying down and you're listening to my voice, I want you to become aware of one thing. Try to feel every beat that your heart makes. Now, this is a very difficult thing to do because you're not paying attention to your heartbeat. But just try. I'm going to give you a few seconds, a couple of minutes to do that. Relax. Inhale. Feel the air going into your chest. Exhale. Inhale. Feel the air coming in, filling your lungs, and exhale. On the exhale, become aware of the beat that your heart is making. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Now just try to get your consciousness to go inside your body, into your chest cavity, and feel the movement of your heart. Slow, fast, or in between. Feel every movement that it makes. And it's going to give you a little while to do so. Okay. Now redirect your attention to my voice. Today we're going to do a little trip. We're going to take you on a little trip. This trip is to our little haunted houses. And inside that haunted house, what we're going to do is face our worst fears, which may be different for some of you. Some of you are afraid of the dark. Some of you are afraid of dying. Some of you are afraid of your own success. Some of you are afraid of losing people, losing your family, losing your friends. And these are all elements of our haunted house. So we're going to build a set. There is a house on a hill. Inside that house is all of your worst fears. Everything that you fear is in there. But it's okay. It's okay because it's a haunted house. And we are at a fair. And we walk up the hill and we walk into the house. And the house is broken down. And the house is unkempt. And inside that house, the first thing I want you to do, everybody take a deep breath in and release. Everyone who is listening to my voice, pull together your worst fear. Bring your worst fear in front of you, but it's okay because we're all going on this trip. Andrew's here, I'm here. The rest of the audience is here. We're all going on that trip. And everybody, entertain your worst fear. See it realized. Let's play that fear for everybody to see. Everybody connect to each other, hold hands inside that house, and see your fears realized. Knowing that you're not alone, we are all here together. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Play that worst fear, and then we're going to go on a little trip together as a group. Okay. So you guys are having way too much fun in this haunted house. Way too much fun. Everybody take a deep breath. Inhale. See the fear. Let everybody who is with you see that fear as well. And realize that that fear is of no consequence because you're in our little play haunted house. And we're all looking at it and we're all entertained by it. You are not alone. We are here. Release that fear. Whatever is making you afraid, you are not alone, whether it be fear of an animal, fear of some monster, and even if the monster is a family member, everybody is looking at that monster and realizing that that monster can't really hurt anybody because we're in this haunted house. And you are not alone, and we are all together. Okay, since I'm your friendly tour guide, we're going to go on a little trip. We're going to go on a little trip where we see ourselves growing old. So everybody who's holding hands right now, and if y'all don't like this kind of trip, you don't have to go on it with me. See yourself. Bring an image of yourself into your mind, your physical image, and start to age that image. Feel that image. See the image of yourself growing older and older. You can't move as fast. You are becoming weaker. Your bones are becoming softer, brittle. You have to be careful. You are hunching over. Your heart is becoming weaker. Everything is becoming less responsive. You sit by the window and you look at people passing as life is passing by. And then you think about the years that you have been here. You can't recognize what's outside. You don't know the music. You don't know the people. You don't know your own neighbors. You are just sitting there watching life pass by. And as you look out that window, you think, did I do all that I could? You think, did I do everything that I wanted to do? You think, what are all the things that I wanted to do and couldn't or didn't? And I want you all guys to listen to me very carefully. Some of you are trying to start a business. Some of you are frightened about getting into relationships. Some of you are frightened about doing something new, moving to a new place, seeing new people. But you, as an old person, looking out that window, does it make you feel okay that you didn't do all that you could do? I want you to be inside the body of that person, inside that body, inside the mind of the old, the elderly. And I want you to understand that this time that you have here is all the time that you have. I want you to learn the lesson of the old person. Make good use of your time while you can. Make good use of your time while you can. Live life to its fullest. Make mistakes. Fall down. Get back up. Fall in love. Fall in love again. Do all the things that you wanted to do or want to do right now. With the life that you have, and see yourself prospering and taking chances and living life fully. Let go of your false beliefs that restrict you. Do not become the old person looking out the window, wondering what you should have done. Make a promise to yourself to do as you will right now. As long as it harms no one, do what you will. I want every one of you holding hands, inhale. On the exhale, become aware of your heart, the movements of your heart. Inhale again. And release it. Now take a very big inhale, so much that it fills your entire being. On the exhale, just open your eyes. And just for today, get up and do something you always wanted to do and didn't. Andrew, are you still there with us?
Yes, I am still here, right on the edge of perception and awareness, and recognizing my old man grunts and groans as I stand up and sit down.
Okay.
Very
Audience
good,
members,
David.
we are back.
Yes. Very, very good, David. Thank you so much. That go a long way in little tools and techniques that people will be able to use. So I want to get a little feedback. So anybody in the chat room, why don't you just type in what you felt over there? And David, any thoughts on you, what you felt back from the audience?
Oh, well, there are a lot of people in the audience that are actually practitioners, aren't they?
Yes, quite a few.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I've never actually done this on a wide telecast before. That's interesting. This is very interesting. So you guys, you got to get up there and do something that you haven't done before, right?
Exactly. That's why we pushed today's episode and went into making the unknown known.
You guys have got to get up and do something you haven't done before, because we're still in that haunted house together, and I want entertainment. You're welcome, everyone.
We're not the guys in the corner that go boo.
We're the guides.
Exactly. We're guides through your fears, so false evidence doesn't appear real. We're able to see the journey for what it is, a series of small steps taken day by day. So healing is a process and not an event.
Yeah, it is. It is a process. It's not an event.
It's not an event. All right, everyone. I want to thank everyone for coming to the show. So we want to get you to give us feedback in the comments below. We want you to type in what you experienced from the meditation here for those that are coming in the future. I also want you to put your comments in below about the subject matter, as we are bringing many different forms and styles. And I got asked a private message earlier about a dating show. Yes, I have filmed three short episodes in which it'll be more woman focused, where they'll be using me as a place to help understand relationships and concept. And that will be coming out in time. And yes, we will be taking calls from that. But I wanted to do was produce some shows ahead of time as context. So people who want to do conscious aware dating actually have a set of context to work through as we build more of the philosophy that we want you to learn over the many months that are coming.
Excellent.
Yes. All right, David, thank you so much. And we'll be back this Thursday, 11 o'clock Pacific time for another live show. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.